And I think I'll always look back very fondly on these cars. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Shannon and I blog about simple solutions for six-figure debt. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button so you can follow our family's journey to pay off over $500,000 of debt. In the last just couple of months, have turned in a lease, sold a car, and bought two new to us cars. And I'm gonna give you guys my best tips for buying used cars that are reliable but cheap so that you can stop throwing away money each month on car payments. Aside from not having any more car payments, our car insurance went down a lot, which was something that I should have realized would happen, but I just wasn't expecting. So we saved another like $100 a month on car insurance just from not having a lease and having older cars. We have increased our cash flow each month by probably almost $1,000. And if you've been following along on our videos, we started or made the decision to follow Dave Ramsey's debt payoff plan in January, but we didn't actually make our first debt snowball payment until June 22nd of this year. So it took almost 7 months to just like organize our finances and do a lot of buying and selling and planning and prep work. So I just want to encourage you, if you're just starting your debt-free journey and you just don't feel like you're making any traction, look harder, crunch the numbers, find things to sell. Maybe it's your cars, maybe they're just too expensive. That doesn't mean you can never have a nice car again. You can buy some inexpensive cash cars and then save up money. Once you're debt free, you can save up money to replace those cars with nicer ones. Just keep your eyes open for ways that you can increase your monthly cash flow so more can go to debt. This is only temporary. So we knew that our lease was ending on August 10th, and I'm not even really sure why we signed a lease in the first place, because looking at it, it is really the worst, most expensive way to operate a vehicle. We knew that obviously we were gonna need another car, and we were determined to not finance anything, but we knew that we were gonna need a minivan because we have 3 kids, or some kind of 3-row SUV or something. And my husband's car was paid for because we actually made some traction paying off debt a couple years ago, and even though we didn't have a plan, we were making some progress here and there, and we actually paid his car off. So we knew that we could probably sell that car, and we decided whatever we get for that car, that is our budget to get 2 cars. And you might think there's no way that you can get 2 cars for the price of 1 car, but you totally can, and we totally did, and we even had $2,000 left over. So just for fun, comment below how much you think that we actually spent on our 2 cars. It is very tempting to think like, well, we're doctors, like we need nice cars. Like what if people judge us? What if people think we're not good doctors because we can't afford nicer cars? It's very easy to fall into those traps and those what will people think. But I love our cars because we own them and we paid cash for them. These cars are allowing us to further our financial future. So a few tips for finding a reliable used car are to start early. This is so important because it did take us about a month to finalize everything. And we had a lot of selling and buying to do. And my husband was working day and night on research, talking to people and sending messages on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, dealerships, everything. So he did a lot of the research and a lot of the work. He's great at that stuff. I tend to get a little more distracted and would probably not do nearly as good of a job as him. So I'm really grateful that he did all that work. So you're gonna wanna start early so you don't get desperate, because when you get desperate and you don't have a plan, that's when you spend money that you weren't planning to spend. The second thing is definitely to set a realistic budget. And for us, we had that $13,000 cash. That was our budget. It was realistic because we had it. If your lease is ending soon, or you know you're gonna need a car soon, your car's starting to break down a little bit or something, and to avoid getting desperate and financing a new car, start early. If it's looking like you're gonna need a new car soon, start researching now. Decide maybe you can save up $4,000 and pay cash for a $4,000 car. You can get a really reliable car for that amount. It's not gonna be a beautiful car or anything, but you can get a really good car for that. If you were putting like $1,000 a month to your debt snowball, maybe you need to pause that right now and save up for a car so you're not in a desperate situation and tempted to finance a new car. Tip number 3 is look for something super ugly with really low miles. So our minivan, Goldie, the debt-free wagon I'm calling her, she's not pretty, but it has under 100,000 miles and it's a Toyota Sienna, which is a really reliable car. Yes, we will have to fix it up along the way, and those are things that we'll prepare for, be saving for in our car sinking fund. And I talked about sinking funds in the last video if you want to go check that out. The important thing is you just want this car to drive. You want it to get you from point A to point B. Our second car that we found was a Toyota Scion, well, I don't know if it's technically a Toyota. It's made by Toyota. It's a Scion TC or something like that, but it only had 65,000 miles on it, and so we'll probably be able to drive that thing for a while. While you're working on your debt-free journey, you're working on your debt snowball, you want the cheapest place you can live now. You want the cheapest car you can drive right now. Be content, have gratitude, and just be happy for what you have right now, and know that you can get better things later when you have no debt, you have no payments, and all you have is money. So you can save up money to buy a nicer car. So what we did is we first sold the Mazda so we would know our budget, and we started about a month before our lease was over so we wouldn't feel rushed or desperate. We still felt a little bit rushed even with a month. So start 2-3 months ahead of time if you can. And we sold the Mazda. We knew our budget was $13,000, and we were 100% determined to stay within that budget so we didn't have to borrow any more money. Then we bought our minivan. This actually happened really quick. We knew there's a limited amount of vans out there that are super reliable and have great reviews. So we narrowed it down pretty quickly to a Toyota Sienna or a Honda Odyssey. We looked at Kia Sorentos as well. We ended up buying our van for $6,600, even with taxes, titles, dealership fees. We actually bought this car from a small dealership. So there's a lot of different ways that you can go. You can look at a private seller like on Facebook or Craigslist. You can look at a dealership, a large dealership, a small dealership, but there will be dealership fees if you buy from a dealer. Great places to search for cars, and I'll put links below, are cars.com, cargurus.com, AutoTrader, and TrueCar. And then of course Facebook and Craigslist for private sellers. There's a ton of cars on there, it's crazy. So basically for our second car, this is just like our work car, whoever is going to work that day and not having to haul the kids around. So we're just kind of like, what's the cheapest car that we can get that'll get us from point A to point B? So this was actually a lot harder because there's so many cars. There's just like tons of cars at every price range. So my husband was looking for weeks, and there was some shady people and people that took forever to respond. So this was a little bit more frustrating. Definitely leave some time, but we kept praying about it and we just kept looking, and we stuck to our guns and our budget, and we finally found a car. Some questions that you can ask when you're going to buy a car. This will save you a lot of time. These questions eliminated a lot of people right away because we knew they were either like hiding something, they didn't want to answer, they were kind of diving around the questions, or they just didn't respond. So why are you selling the car? Do you have the title? Are there any liens? Is the title clean? How many previous owners? Do you have the service records? Ask if they have the Carfax. And that shows you if it's been an accident. It's not always going to be 100% accurate, but it's really important to see that. And then also you want to know if the price is negotiable. Also, you can check the VIN number of the car using some different sites, websites, to really get more information on the car. When you're doing your budget, you're gonna want to make sure that you include fees if you're buying from a dealership, and taxes and titles. and registration. That typically runs a couple $100s. On a more expensive car, it can be more, obviously. So that can't really be negotiated in the price. If you're buying from a private seller, you can avoid a lot of fees, but you'll still have those tax, title, and licensing fees. And so for our second little car, we actually ended up spending about $4,400. So overall, out the door, we spent about $11,000 under our budget of $13,000 for 2 cars. And so we were able to put that extra $2,000 and finish off another debt this month. So that was really exciting. Overall, it can be super exhausting, but also really rewarding if you are willing to put the work in to get yourself a little used car. And it's just freed up so much money in our monthly budget now that we can put toward debt. And I don't see us ever financing a car again, definitely not leasing. Also, I was gonna briefly touch on some car selling tips. So when we sold the Mazda, what my husband did was he got quotes on Carvana and Vroom, and then he had those quotes and they're good for like 7 days, and then he took it to CarMax and they were actually able to beat that. So then he just sold the car to CarMax that day, and it took about 20 minutes. It was so fast. The thing that's kind of cool that didn't happen to work out for us, but it could work out for someone else, if you look at the residual value of your lease, sometimes you can actually sell your car and get a little bit more than what the residual value is if it's in like super good condition. This might be a really good thing if you're over your mileage, because you'll get all those penalties when you turn your lease in, but even if you were right at the residual value or even a little bit under on an offer to buy the car, it might be less of a hit than the fees and the penalties. So that is a really interesting thing that we didn't know. For us, it made more sense to just turn the lease in because we were way under our mileage and we took really good care of the car, so our fees are only going to be a couple $100s. That is something to think about if you are trying to avoid a bunch of fees at the end of your lease. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and it's really helpful if you're in the market for a new to you car and you are totally like not gonna finance a car anymore and you're looking to buy a used car, but maybe you're a little bit hesitant or wary about doing that. Go ahead and leave your questions or comments below. I would love to help you guys out if you have any other questions about buying used cars. I'll leave a few other helpful links below that I mentioned in this video, and I will catch you guys next week.